Hi, I'm Makayla. I'm the Director of Marketing here at the library. And for Banned Book Week, I will be reading something from The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This is the story of a young man finding his community and dealing with his own traumas and mental health. I first read this book when I was in high school, and it had a great impact on me. I devoured it in one afternoon. It made a part of me feel seen. When we ban books, we take away stories that people can find themselves in. We narrow the world. I hope when you come into the library, you can find a book that makes you feel seen. When I revealed that I was Patrick's Secret Santa, everyone laughed because everyone knew. And Patrick did his best impersonation of being surprised, which was nice of him. Then everyone asked what my gift was. And I told them it was a poem I'd read a long time ago. It was a poem that Michael made a copy of for me, and I have read it 1,000 times since. Because I don't know who wrote it. I don't know if it was ever in a book or a class, and I don't know how old the person was, but I know that I want to know him or her. I want to know that this person is okay. So everyone asked me to stand up and read the poem, and I wasn't shy because we were trying to act like grown-ups, and we drank brandy, and I was warm. I'm still a little warm, but I have to tell you this. So I stood up, and just before I read the poem, I asked everyone that if they knew who wrote the poem, please tell me. When I was done reading the poem, everyone was quiet. A very sad quiet. The amazing thing was that it wasn't a bad sad at all. It was just something that made everyone look around at each other and know that they were there. Sam and Patrick looked at me and I looked at them, and I think they knew. Not anything specific really, they just knew, and I think that's all you can ask for from a friend. That's when Patrick put on the second side of the tape I made for him and poured everyone another glass of brandy. I guess we all looked a little silly drinking it, but we didn't feel silly, I can tell you that. As the song kept playing, Mary Elizabeth stood up, but she wasn't holding a suit coat. It turns out that she wasn't my Secret Santa at all. She was the Secret Santa to the other girl with the tattoo in the belly ring, whose real name was Alice. She gave her some black nail polish that Alice had her eye on, and Alice was very grateful. I just sat there looking around the room, looking for the suit coat, not knowing who could possibly be holding it. Sam stood up next, and she gave Bob a handcrafted Native American marijuana pipe, which seemed appropriate. More people gave more gifts, and more hugs were exchanged, and finally it came to the end. No one was left except for Patrick, and he stood up and walked to the kitchen. Does anyone want any chips? Everyone did, and he came back with 3 tubs of Pringles and a suit coat. And he walked up to me, and he said that all the great writers used to wear suits all the time. And so I put on the suit, even though I didn't feel like I really deserved to, since all I write are essays for Bill, but it was such a nice present, and everyone clapped their hands anyway. Sam and Patrick both agreed that I looked handsome. Mary Elizabeth smiled. I think it was the first time in my life I ever felt like I looked good. Do you know what I mean? The nice feeling when you look in the mirror and your hair's just right for the first time in your life. I don't think that we should base so much on weight, muscles, and a good hair day, but when it happens, it's nice. It really is. The rest of the evening was very special. Since a lot of people were going away with their families to places like Florida and Indiana, we all exchanged presents with the people who we weren't Secret Santas for. Bob gave Patrick an 1/8 of marijuana with a Christmas card attached. He even wrapped it. Mary Elizabeth gave Sam earrings, and so did Alice, and Sam gave them earrings too. I think that is a private girl thing. I have to admit, I felt a little sad because other than Sam and Patrick, nobody got me a present. I guess I'm not all that close with them, so it makes sense, but I still feel a little sad. And then it came to my turn. I gave Bob a little plastic tube of soap bubbles because it just seemed to fit his personality. I guess I was right. Too much was all he said. He spent the rest of the night blowing bubbles at the ceiling. Next was Alice. I gave her a book by Anne Rice because she is always talking about her, and she looked at me like she couldn't believe I knew she loved Anne Rice. I guess she didn't know how much she talked or how much I listened, but she thanked me all the same. Next came Mary Elizabeth. I gave her $40 inside a card. The card said something pretty simple. to be spent on printing punk Rocky in color next time. And she looked at me funny. They all started to look at me funny, except for Sam and Patrick. I think they started feeling bad because they didn't get me anything, but I don't think they should have, because I don't think that's the point, really. Mary Elizabeth just smiled and said thanks, and then stopped looking me in the eye. Last came Sam. I had been thinking about this present for a long time. I think I thought about this present from the first time I really saw her. Not met her or saw her, but the first time I really saw her, if you know what I mean. There was a card attached. Inside the card, I told Sam the present I gave her was given to me by my Aunt Helen. It was an old 45 record that had the Beatles song Something. I used to listen to it all the time when I was little and thinking about grown-up things. I would go to my bedroom window and stare at my reflection in the glass and the trees behind it and just listen to the song for hours. I decided then that when I met someone I thought was beautiful as the song, I should give it to that person. And I don't mean beautiful on the outside, I mean beautiful in all ways. So I was giving it to Sam. Sam looked at me soft and she hugged me, and I closed my eyes because I wanted to know nothing but her arms. And she kissed my cheek and whispered so nobody could hear, "I love you." I knew that she meant it in a friend way, but I didn't care because it was the third time since my Aunt Helen died that I heard it from anyone. The other 2 times were from my mom. After that, I couldn't believe that Sam actually got me a present, because I honestly thought the "I love you" was it, but she did get me a present. And for the first time, something nice like that made me smile and not cry. I guess Sam and Patrick went to the same thrift store because their gifts went together. She took me to her room and stood me in front of her dresser, which was covered in a pillowcase with pretty colors. She lifted off the pillowcase, and there I was, standing in my old suit, looking at an old typewriter with a fresh ribbon. Inside the typewriter was a piece of white paper. On that piece of paper, Sam wrote, "Write about me sometime." And I typed something back to her. Standing right there in her bedroom, I just typed, "I will." And it felt good that those were the first 2 words I'd ever typed on my new typewriter that Sam gave me. We just sat there quiet for a moment, and she smiled. And I moved to the typewriter again and I wrote something. "I love you too." And Sam looked at the paper and she looked at me. "Charlie, have you ever kissed a girl?" I shook my head no. It was so quiet. "Not even when you were little?" And I shook my head no again, and she looked very sad. She told me about the first time she was kissed. She told me it was with one of her dad's friends. She was 7. And she told nobody about it except for Mary Elizabeth and then Patrick a year ago. And she started to cry, and she said something that I won't forget ever. "I know you know that I like Craig, and I know I told you not to think of me that way, and I know that we can't be together like that, but I want to forget all those things for a moment, okay? Okay? I want to make sure that the first person you kiss loves you, okay? Okay." She was crying harder now, and I was too, because when I hear something like that, I just can't help it. "I just want to make sure of that, okay? Okay?" And she kissed me. It was the kind of kiss that I could never tell my friends about out loud. It was the kind of kiss that made me know that I was never so happy in my whole life. Once on a piece of yellow paper with green lines, he wrote a poem, and he called it Chops because that was the name of his dog, and that's what it was all about. And his teacher gave him an A and a gold star, and his mother hung it on the kitchen door and read it to his aunts. That was the year Father Tracy took all the kids to the zoo and let them sing on the bus, and his little sister was born with tiny toenails and no hair, and his mother and father kissed a lot, and the girl around the corner sent him a Valentine sign with a row of X's, and he had to ask his father what the X's meant. And his father always tucked him into bed at night and was always there to do it. Once on a piece of white plate paper with blue lines, he wrote a poem, and he called it Autumn, because that was the name of the season and that's what it was about. And his teacher gave him an A and asked him to write more clearly, and his mother never hung it on the kitchen door because of its new paint. And the kids told him that Father Tracy smoked cigars and left butts on the pews, and sometimes they would burn holes. That was the year his sister got glasses with thick lenses and black frames. And the girl around the corner laughed when he asked her to go see Santa Claus, and the kids told him why his mother and father kissed a lot, and his father never tucked him into bed at night, and his father got mad when he cried for him to do it. Once on a piece of paper torn from his notebook, he wrote a poem, and he called it Innocence Question, because that was the question about his girl. That's what it was all about. And his professor gave him an A and a strange, steady look, and his mother never hung it on the kitchen door because he never showed it to her. That was the year Father Tracy died, and he forgot how the end of the Apostles' Creed went, and he caught his sister making out on the back porch, and his mother and father never kissed or even talked. And the girl around the corner wore too much makeup that made him cough when he kissed her, but he kissed her anyway because that was the thing to do. And at 3 a.m. he tucked himself into bed, his father snoring soundly. That's why in the back of a brown paper bag he tried another poem, and he called it Absolutely Nothing, because that's what it was really all about, and he gave himself an A and a slash on each damned wrist, and he hung it on the bathroom door because this time he didn't think he could reach the kitchen. That was the poem I read for Patrick. Nobody knew who wrote it, but Bob said he heard it before and that he heard it was some kid's suicide note. I really hope it wasn't, because then I don't know if I like the ending.